Let's talk about pure functions and specifically the characteristics of a pure function. Typically, there are three characteristics of a pure function, and they are these three right here. They always return the same result given the same arguments. Their execution doesn't depend on the current state of the application, and they don't modify variables outside of their scope. So a good example of a pure function is a simple add function. So say this add function took in two numbers and then just returned x plus y. You'll notice here that if we go through these characteristics, this add function meets all of them. This function doesn't depend on the state of the application. We're not modifying any variables outside of the scope. And given these same arguments, we're always going to return the same results. If we come in here and we call add 1 and 3, no matter how many times we do this, this will always give us 4. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example. So here, let's say we had a variable called friends, which is going to be an array. And we had 3 items in this array. And say now that we wanted to get the first item, or say we're using the .slice property on the array, and we will pass in 0 and 1. No matter how many times we call this, we're always going to get Ian, because slice isn't modifying the original array. So it's meeting all of the criteria of a pure function. But if we come in here, and instead of slice, if we use splice, you'll notice that the very first time we call this with 0 and 1, we get Ian. The second time, we get Mackenzie, and then we get Jake. So splice isn't a pure function because pure functions always return the same result given the same arguments. And here, we're giving splice the same arguments, but we're getting a different result. So let's look at one more example. Say we had a function called square, and what we wanted it to do was we wanted it to take in a number, and then just return the number times itself, so n times n. So when we invoke square passing it 2, it'll give us 4. Now say we had an array full of numbers, so let's call this nums. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. Now say we needed an array with all of the numbers squared. So one way to do that would be to say we have a function called square items. It's going to take in an array, and then what it's going to do is it's going to loop over the array. And for each item in the array, it's going to modify itself and just be the square of whatever that item is. And then at the very end, we will just return the array. So when I call square items, passing in our nums array, you'll notice that we get all of the numbers squared. But what we've done now is if you look at our original nums array, it's been modified. So square items isn't a pure function because, as one of our characteristics mentioned, we are modifying the state outside of this current scope. So now one way to fix this is instead of modifying the array directly, what we can do is let's make a new function here and we'll call it pure square items. It's going to take in an array. But again, instead of modifying each item in the array, what we can do is we can call array.map and then just pass it our square function that we created up here. So now let's go ahead and we have new nums, which is still going to be 2, 4, 6, 8. And when we call pure square items passing it new nums, what we will get is that same array, 4, 16, 36, and 64. But now if we look at new nums, we haven't modified it, which means pure square items is a pure function.